Okay. Hey, nice to see everybody here today. Sorry we missed last week. It was fall break and there was a lot going on, so we'll try to make up for it and have a good press conference this morning. Good week last week. As far as development of our team, I thought all week long we were focused on what we needed to do to get better, and went to Nebraska, which is always a challenge to play in that venue with that big crowd, and more importantly, always a really good team, and played very well. I did a lot of the things that we needed to do to win, but just not enough, and had a chance to win it at I think it was 14-13 in the fifth, and just didn't defend the way we needed to in that situation, and then it kind of got away from us, and Nebraska won the match. And of course, they're a great team with great players, but I thought we did a tremendous job defensively of slowing them down. I thought Taylor Anderson did a great job of running our offense and providing our hitters with exactly what they needed to be successful. And it was a fun match, a good match, but one that we just let get away from us right there at the end. Then we went to Iowa, which if you haven't been in this business of having to play a back-to-back match in the Big Ten after an emotional match the night before, it's one of the hardest things that you can do. And so I give our team a tremendous amount of credit for the way that they persevered and they fought and they battled and found ways to beat an Iowa team that is right in the middle of the pack now. And I told a couple of our coaches afterwards, I said, I don't know why I feel the way I do after this match, because it's basically the way I feel after this match every time we play it at Iowa, that we're fortunate we survived it and we're happy, and now let's go home. So that was kind of the deal. This week, of course, we have UCLA. I don't know. We've got some historians in the room, I know. I don't know if we've ever played UCLA here. Twice? Not here. Twice in the tournament, but I think it's the first time UCLA will play volleyball here at Purdue and in Holloway Gym on Thursday night. And UCLA is a team that is really working hard to get back to the form that they have been. If you grew up in the era that I did, UCLA was volleyball. I mean, it was. You couldn't separate the two. UCLA, volleyball, and men's or women's. And now they've hired a really good young coach to try to catapult that program back to the glory days. They played last night against USC at the Galen Center and lost in the fifth. But it was an opportunity for us just to see some of the things that they can do. But that will be the Thursday night match in Holloway, just to make sure you got it right. We'll play them in Holloway. And then on Saturday night, we play our rivals from Bloomington. We'll play them on Saturday at 7 o'clock, and that will be in Mackey Arena, a sold-out Mackey Arena. And so it's a lot going on. We have Alumni Day on Saturday, and we have almost 40 of our alumni that have already checked in that they will be here, including gold and silver medal Olympian in Annie Drews. So I think she goes into the Hall of Fame on Friday, if I'm correct. So a great group going into Hall of Fame. Congratulations to them, and certainly to Katie Geralds, who's across the hall from us, that's going in. A great class of Boilermakers. So that's kind of the story on what's happened and what's ahead. And so I'm ready for questions.
Coach, you have a bunch of experienced players, but what's the thing that you can't really replicate, no matter how many times you've played the Iowas and Nebraskas? What's the one thing that maybe emotionally is the biggest challenge when going on the road to play both of those programs?
Well, just every situation is different, and once the match starts, it takes on a life of its own. And there were not a lot of people that probably felt like we were going to be in a 5-set slugfest with Nebraska at their place. We've played them very tough. We consistently play Nebraska tough. So I'm sure John Cook, the head coach there, probably thought that this could be a real humdinger. And it was, but to have some of our younger players, and you say we've got some experience. We do. We have some experience. We also have a lot of youth. And for some of those players to have to step up to that service line in some of those situations was something that they never experienced before. So the question's good. How do you change that? Well, now they've done it, okay, in a tough situation. But in practice, there's got to be some things you can do to apply pressure on your athletes in a variety of different ways. And so we need to look at that. And we talked about that this morning at our staff meeting, some things that we can do. But basically, we had a great weekend. And I know a lot of fans will look at it and say, well, yeah, you lost at Nebraska when you were in a position to win. But coaches know and players know when they gave everything they had. And we did that against them. And it's too bad that there's nothing to show for it, okay? And then to come back and play Iowa the way we did. And Iowa's got a nice venue. They play, and it's kind of a hockey venue, but it's about 3 years old. Great place to play. And they have a nice crowd, and it was, I don't know what it was, parent night or something, but they had an extended introduction. I know that before we could play. And they played very well against us. And we had to really dig down deep to come out of there with a win. So, 4-2 in the Big Ten, and what I may have shared with you before, our first half of the Big Ten schedule is really challenging. Look at the next 4 matches we're going to play. We're going to play UCLA, our rival Indiana, Ohio State, and Wisconsin. And that wraps up. We've already played Nebraska and Penn State and Minnesota and some others. So it's a tough schedule, but it's not going to be a whole lot easier. The league is just so good. And I just hope the rest of our coaches at Purdue know what we're getting into with this. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams every time you turn the page.
Looking forward ahead to UCLA, you mentioned the history. To welcome, a program like that, given that you've almost kind of been winking at each other for, last, X amount of years, to now get to play them on your home court Thursday. How is it significant for you and for maybe the sport of volleyball, given the amount of history both Purdue and UCLA have within the sport?
Well, I think our focus right now is just figuring out how to beat them. I think it's a big match. I think our fans here have to look forward to that. UCLA's tradition in volleyball is similar to it is in men's basketball. I mean, they've been the dominant force, so they're a pretty big deal. They're a bigger deal than we are in the sport of volleyball. If you look at the history, recent history would show that it favors Purdue a little bit, but they're going to try to come in and prove something to them. They're fighting very hard for an NCAA berth, as are we, but they're a little bit behind the 8 ball right now, and so they know they've got to get wins. They've lost to Minnesota in 5. They've lost to USC in 5. They lost to another ranked team in 5, and then they beat Washington up there at Washington, which is the biggest win that they've got. But I just think both teams aren't going to worry about too many other things except how can we win? How can we compete?
Indiana, I mean, the sold-out atmosphere. When you think about, just the history, the rivalry, and the amount of clashes that have occurred throughout the years, what's the thing that resonates you that stays consistent with the rivalry, whether it's in Bloomington or here in West Lafayette?
That anything is likely to happen. It's just the way that it rolls. We've had pretty good success because I think we've had the better team for the most part over the time that I've been at Purdue. So we've had pretty good success. This is possibly the best Indiana team since 2010, and they might be better than that team. They're dangerous, very dangerous. They play hard. They fight. They believe in what they're doing. Been some big changes at IU in the last couple of years in how they go about their business. And so we know that that's going to be a war, a bigger war than what we've had with probably Indiana in a while, even though they did beat us at their place last year. And they were good a year ago, too. But I just know that they'll rise to the occasion quite a bit, too, playing in front of 14,800 people. It just won't be our squad that's going to get excited about it. They will be equally as excited to play in front of what will be a record for Big Ten matches. There's never been that many people to watch 2 Big Ten teams play in a conference contest, so I'm excited about that. But they just bring a lot of things to the table. And so I as a coach, you don't really get caught up too much in the rivalry or what's happened in the past. All you're focused on is after we play UCLA on Thursday is what do we need to do to get ready to play a really good volleyball team. Yeah, you're welcome.
since even Big Ten play has started, there's been a lot of growth among the team defensively, on the outside hitters, and basically all facets. What have you seen, and how has that come about so quickly for this team?
Well, we felt like during the spring and even our summer trip that we took to Europe, that we made progress in the attitude of defense. I mean, defense certainly is, you got to develop skills, you got to be able to have floor moves, you got to be able to see and read and react and understand the game, but so much of defense is about attitude and being locked in. And I thought we put on a clinic at Nebraska, and I thought that continued in the backcourt all the way through Iowa. The difference in the match at Iowa and Nebraska was we blocked well against Nebraska. We were just a little bit off in our rhythm against a totally different style of team in Iowa, who we had to play 22 hours later. So I think that credit goes to our athletes in that they've decided. I mean, I look at Eva Hudson for an example. Eva was not a very good back row defender when she arrived as a freshman. Last year, she made a lot of progress. She became a good passer of the serve. She started playing much harder, expanding her range. The defensive performance that she and Chloe put on in the backcourt as a middle back players the other day were better than anything that we've ever seen. I would compare the defensive effort that we had against Nebraska to the defensive effort we had back in 2010 when we beat Florida when they were ranked #1 in the country in about 63 minutes. Okay, it was that same type of mentality, and that's the mentality that this team needs to have, and it's led by players like Allie Horning, Eva Hudson, Chloe Chicoine, Raven Colvin. Their mentality, their attitude, their behavior, their fight is what kind of dictates the way we play.
Dave, first, congratulations on the becoming the all-time winningest coach.
Thank you, Tim.
How many people have you heard from since that? How many former players? How many coaches? What was your reaction after you set that record?
Yeah, it's been really nice, more than I can count, for sure. And I think the most pleasing thing is just how many former players, and I'm not talking about just from Purdue, but I'm talking about from Muncie Central, from Daleville, from my Munciana coaching days. That's one of the good things about social media, okay, is that how many people can easily reach out to you and say something nice. And so it was good. And then, a lot of coaches and just good friends and so forth. So it was nice, but it's over. And the beauty of it was we had to get ready to play Nebraska, and so I really couldn't put too much thought into it. We had to get ready, and it's just another win. And the credit goes to the players and the support staff and the coaches that have helped along the way, for sure.
Speaking of Nebraska, Eva Hudson was really big for you offensively that night. Do you see her elevate her game when she plays against some of the better foes? And you're playing great teams all the time, but
yeah,
when you play the really elite teams, do you see her take her game up a notch?
Yes, clearly. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing when you've got that player that can go from being really, really good to becoming great. And I think that it's our job to help her understand that she can be great all the time. She has very high aspirations. Her aspirations are to play for the USA program, play on the Olympic team, okay? And so our job is to help her get there. And so that means we need to coach, and she needs to understand constantly that she can be great, because she can be, and she wants it. And so, again, we're working with her to continue that development, but she's been here for two years and about 8 weeks, all right? And the progress she has made since she's been here has been one of the most encouraging things I've experienced as a coach, because she is so capable. I don't think we've ever had anybody that can do as much as she can. I mean, she's an Ariel Turner type of a player, and not everybody remembers Ariel Turner, but Ariel was magical in how she played the game. And Eva is very, very similar. They see things that other people don't see. They can do things that other people can't do. And they're not always great. Sometimes in practice, either one of them weren't great, okay? But as you mentioned, when it really came down to it, they showed up.
And finally, have you given a lot of thought to what you're going to feel walking down the tunnel on Saturday night with 14,000 some people, and you look around and you see every seat filled?
Been a lot of things I've been thinking about, but that hasn't been one of them. Logistically, we're just trying to get this thing put together. And as Rachel knows, I've been hounding her a lot already today about making sure we have everything in place to make it be the type of match that I think it can be. But it will be a wonderful feeling, I'm sure, to walk down there and see that. But you know, that's the thing. I talked to Matt Painter about this after the Final Four, once things had settled down, and I said, Matt, I said, it's too bad you couldn't appreciate what that atmosphere in Phoenix, Arizona was like, because I did. I was there for 4 days, and I was with the Boilermaker Nation, and it was something like you've never seen before. But he didn't experience that. You know, he walked in the venue, and all he could think about was coaching and getting his team prepared to play and all the things you got to do as a coach. And that's kind of, I think, similar to what we are. It's not the Final Four, but it's playing your rival in front of 14,800 people, and you want to make sure that you play as well as you can play. And hopefully when it's all said and done, we'll have a feel for what it was like.
Well, along those lines, then, how do you prepare? Because communication may be different in Mackey than it is in Holloway, and also the depth perception's a whole lot different.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. We've been in there some already this year to practice. We're going to be in there a little bit this week. I think basketball has been very gracious in helping us, you know, make sure that us and Indiana can use that venue to prepare to play. We've played in some large venues already this fall. I mean, we just came from Nebraska. The hockey venue, I think it's called the Extreme Center. Is that close? Extreme Arena. They're in Coralville. Thank you. I'm just lucky to get Iowa City right. But that's a big, wide place to play. We played in Utah, the House of Majerus. He didn't really build it, but he coached there. And that's a big venue. We've played in some big places. So, and every time we've gone in there, we've really felt like that was a big issue. And then you get in there and it's volleyball. You just go play. And I hope that's the way our kids respond. Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, thank you very much.
Thanks, Coach.
Boiler up.